Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today, including Brendan Batchelor, are sponsored by Passant Motors, and Brendan's standing by. There are huge holiday savings at Passant Motors. No GST, no gas, no payments. Check out the great offers at Passant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. Me and my two boys are having trouble with this cough that's going around. I think a lot of people
cough. You just had your voice. You got now it's cough.
I just had my voice.
No, you had troubles with your voice, and now you got a cough.
Well, I'm worried about it. Can you imagine if that happened to Brendan Batchelor, voice of the Canucks on Sportsnet 650. Canucks hosting Tampa Bay on Tuesday, and Brendan joins us now. Brendan, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Yeah, it has happened to me. It's not fun, and it usually happens to me. Like I lose my voice in stretches where there's like 4 games in 6 nights or something like that, and you don't get a break. Like that's when it always happens. So I feel for you.
What's the lozenge of choice for a play-by-play announcer like yourself?
I think it's called Cepacol or Cepacol.
Oh,
it's like more of a heavy-duty one that you can get from the drugstore. So I go to those pretty quick when I feel the voice going.
Write that down, Rick. Okay.
Halls.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Lemon.
Okay, we didn't talk about this.
The lemon ones are good.
We talked about Kuzmenko and Bear and Höglander in the first segment. Elias Pettersson, a goal and 2 assists Saturday. Canucks defeating Carolina 4-3. He was slumping. That's not the case anymore. 7 points in 4 games. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think he's slowly finding his way back to, the level of player that we saw from him at the start of the year. And, there was a little bit of a stretch there where he wasn't playing at his best, and we were all wondering about whether it was an injury or anything like that. But, it's a long season, and these guys are going to have ups and downs, and the team has just gone through sort of a spell of win one, lose one over the last 10 or 15 games here, too. So that's going to happen in a season, and I think, Pettersson has talked about you're going to have ups and downs in your career. You're going to have moments where you're not playing to the same level that you want to. It's about finding your way back to playing at that level, and I think that's what we're seeing from him now. There's been some inconsistency on his line, too, that I think has been a factor, and I've really liked how Sam Lafferty has fit in with him and Mikheyev over the last couple of games in particular. I guess we'll have to wait and see if that's a long-term solution, but at least in the short term, it's worked, and Pettersson, to me, the other night looked like he was getting back to the kind of player that we know he can be, where he can dominate games.
Let's stay there, Brendan. Why does Lafferty work with Pettersson and Mikheyev, at least short term?
Well, its speed is the thing that I notice immediately. And, Andrei Kuzmenko is a very skilled player who's obviously going through his own struggles right now. But when you think of Kuzmenko, you don't think speed north-south up the wing. You don't think about getting in on the forecheck first. And that's what Lafferty does so well. And then he's also got a willingness to go to the net. And we've seen Lafferty score goals or help create offense in and around the net. And that's what has allowed him to be successful this year, where individually he is on pace for a career year in points. And it's not like he's been playing with Pettersson all year. He's been down on the fourth line. He's been in the middle. He's been on the wing. So he's one of those players that coaches love, and you can understand why Rick Tocchet loves him, because he's so versatile. He can play him up the lineup, down the lineup, in the middle, on the wing, and he brings that speed and that consistency, and obviously he's being rewarded for it lately with some of the points he's been contributing and the fact that he's getting a chance to play with Pettersson and Mikheyev.
Brendan, what I liked Saturday was the ice distribution of the blue line. Myers, 20 minutes, Zadorov, 20 minutes, Hughes, all these guys were together. And Juleson, 14 minutes, and he's been playing good of late. They didn't have a defenseman at the 9-10 minute mark where they had to overplay their top pair. So it's nice when all the defensemen are getting ice time.
Yeah, and I think the Zadorov acquisition has kind of emboldened Rick Tocchet to spread those minutes around a little bit. And I think Juleson deserves a lot of credit, by the way. He was a healthy scratch for, I think it was 11 straight games, and he's been in the lineup for the last 12 or 13 now in a row, and is bringing that consistent level of reliability on the back end. He's a penalty killer. He blocks shots. All of these things are allowing him to have some individual success. And when that happens, the coaching staff trusts him more. His minutes can go up. And, it's not just lately that he's averaging 14 minutes. Since he's been back in the lineup, he's averaging about 14 and a half minutes a game. So that shows that Rick Tocchet at least trusts him in a lot of these situations. And trust me, I tweet out the lines all the time, and I hear from fans on a daily basis wondering why Juulsen's still in the lineup. And I think a lot of people would like to see Mark Friedman back in there, but the penalty killing ability, the physicality, and now, simplifying his game and being reliable is what's allowing Noah Juulsen to stick and to help with those minutes and easing off the minutes from guys like Hughes and Hronek, who, by the way, still haven't played as much as they could be playing. I think last time I looked, they were both averaging under 25 minutes a night. Hughes averaged north of 26 minutes a night after Tocchet arrived last season. So he's certainly capable of playing them more, but in the long run, it will benefit them if he can continue to spread these minutes out like he has been lately.
Brendan, this isn't a stat we've seen in Vancouver in a while. Canucks are 15-0 when leading after 40 minutes of play. What are they doing in that third period much better this year, locking down those wins?
Yeah, I mean, it's like night and day. We can remember all the blown leads at the start of last year, but Rick Tocchet has them bought into the way they need to play. And the thing I've noticed in the third periods is, they're not sitting back. They're not defending, but they're also not as aggressive as they are the rest of the game either. Like, we see them bring their defensemen down the walls in the offensive zone to keep pucks in all the time. But it's about, waiting for that next shift, waiting for that next play, as Tocchet always says, making sure you get the puck deep when you gain center, making sure you clear the defensive zone. It's that the whole group has bought into those quote unquote staples of the game that we always hear Rick Tocchet talk about. And that's allowing them to have success. And then in the third period, when you're protecting the lead, you don't have to be the team that pressures. You don't have to be the team that's trying to force for offense. All you have to do is get pucks out, get pucks deep, and then you force the other team to try and pressure. They have to come out of their structure, or they have to, commit more men forward to try and tie the hockey game or get back into the hockey game. And that's where opportunities open up for you on the counterattack, on odd man rushes and things like that. So I've been very impressed with the way they've managed games this year, especially in the third period when leading. And not only are they unbeaten, but you're right, 15 wins now. That's more wins than anyone else in the league when leading after two periods. So they've had a lot of success in that situation. And the key to being in that situation too is, guess what? They're taking leads to the third period more often this year too, and they're not chasing games.
What a week, Brendan. Tampa Bay in town on Tuesday to take on the Canucks with so many great players in that lineup. Kucherov included, who leads the National Hockey League in points. And then Thursday, along comes Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And the Norris Trophy hunt. He's going to be hanging around Vancouver again with the Florida Panthers. Roberto Luongo is going to have his likeness up into the, or raised up into the, I think it's already there actually, it's undercover, into the Ring of Honor. What are your memories of Roberto Luongo as a Vancouver Canuck, Brandon?
I just remember that I think it was pretty cool that for a time in this city, we got to boast that we had the world's best goaltender. And that's what Roberto Luongo was. And, it was always interesting with Luongo. The narrative went in all sorts of different directions, whether it was, the end of his tenure when he wasn't the goaltender in the game at BC Place, whether it was through the playoff runs and obviously falling short in the Stanley Cup final. And, one thing I think people forget is, yes, the Canucks did fall short in Game 7, but Luongo, it was an up and down series for him, but he had played so well in that series in the games that they had won that he very well could have won the Conn Smythe Trophy had they won that Game 7 and won the Stanley Cup. So, I think there is a complicated history there with Luongo, but to me, he was the best goaltender in the world. He was a Vancouver Canuck. He holds all sorts of franchise records, and it's going to be cool to see him honored on Thursday night.
Brandon, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. Sepulchre, Rick, write it down.
Halls,
Thanks
Lemon.
Thanks for this, Brandon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You bet.